And in that interview, he mentioned he had a wife. Guys, I was shook. I'm Simi Dre. Can I just say, dating is not for the faint-hearted. The streets are not smiling. And I remember when I was single, I had to create boundaries, right? I had to become very intentional with who I would allow come into this space. When I became intentional about dating became far easier for me. See, let me tell you a story about how I chased a man for 3 years. Yes. 3 whole years I wasted chasing man, ordinary man. Never again, never again. So there was one boy that I met, fine young man that I met. We met at an event and he asked for my Facebook and then we started talking. Now at that time, I just was not feeling him, like I wasn't into him. And I just told him that, look, let's just be friends. But this man was very, 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 very consistent, like very consistent. Eventually, we stopped talking for some time. I think half a year passed by and he posted a picture and it popped up on my Facebook homepage. So I liked the picture and then he sent me a message. Obviously he saw my like and then he sent me a message. And then we started talking again and we went on a couple of dates and I realized, you know what? This guy is actually not bad. Now, this guy was like top of his career. He was young, he was good looking. He ticked all the boxes like a woman normally would have, you know? And I was thinking to myself, like, was I blind before? This guy is actually not bad. Anyway, we went on like a couple of dates and we just had like a really good time together. But then he confessed to me that in the period we had stopped talking, he had eventually gotten into a relationship with another woman. Guys, I wanted to die. My heart stopped. I was like, what? And I found out who this woman was, and apparently she was the family friend of my best friend. So it made it even harder because all of a sudden, like, I was seeing what this guy was doing for her. Like they were going on trips, they were living life. And in my head, I was like, this could have been me. But this guy and I still kept on talking and he, you know, told me that the relationship wasn't going well, he wasn't happy. And I was like, well, why don't you break up? But he wasn't breaking up with her. And you know what happened? I then became fixated on him. I then tried to morph myself into his girlfriend because I was like, well, obviously you're still with her, so there's something about her that's keeping you there. I started to wear the kind of clothes that she wore, to read the kind of books that she would read. I was trying to become her part two, and I was losing myself and my identity. Now, eventually, this guy and the girl broke up, not because of me, but for natural reasons, okay? They broke up, I think she broke up with him. And in my head, I was like, finally, my property can return to me. What is mine can come back to me. I thought that, you know, everything would be smooth sailing from now on. We would get into a relationship. But this guy started being hot and then cold. Like 1 minute, he would give me all the time in the world, make me feel like a queen. The next minute, I could have been Casper the Friendly Ghost because it was like I was invisible. And I then started doing everything in my power to get this guy to like me, to love me, or at least give me the same sort of attention he gave me back when he was chasing me before he got into a relationship. And I was buying him gifts, constantly calling him. Guys, every time I traveled, I would buy something from the country I was in or I had visited, and I would give it to him as a gift. His birthday, whether or not he was in the country, I always ensured that a birthday gift would be delivered to him. Like I was doing the most for this guy and I wasn't getting anything back in return. After a total of 3 years had gone by, guys, I'm ashamed to admit it, but yes, 3 years had gone by. Some sense entered this brain of mine and I told myself, Simi, you need to let go because this man is not the one for you. But I've noticed a lot of women I know, a lot of my friends, tell me that their past relationships and their past experiences have changed who they are and have hardened their hearts. But for me, I think that's a completely wrong approach, because I feel that as much as you deserve a good man also deserves a good woman, not a woman who is broken or carrying emotional baggage because of the experiences her ex gave her. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about women who've experienced abuse or violence in relationships, because that is no joke, and you need however much time you need to heal. But I'm talking about women who've maybe been in relationships with guys who've cheated on them, who haven't appreciated them, who've been manipulative towards them. I've been in those kind of relationships too. But for me, what I took away from those experiences was that I finally understood what to look out for in men when I started dating. So I had a couple of rules that I abided by, and these rules worked for me. They may not work for everyone, that's a disclaimer, but for me, they literally helped me ensure that I didn't get emotionally attached to somebody who was going to walk all over my heart. If a man did not commit to me within 3 to 4 weeks of our first date, then he was not the one for me. And let me tell you why. Like I said, this is what worked for me. It may not work for everyone. But from my experience, most guys tend to know if they want to be with a woman pretty early on. Most times, guys know that they're serious about a relationship before a woman does, from my experience. And if after we've been on our first date and we've been talking, communicating constantly, I've met your friends, you've met my friends, we've gone on consecutive dates, I would wait for 3 or 4 weeks before calling or texting this guy and asking him if he was still talking to other women. And if he said yes, he was still talking to other women, then I would say, okay, no problem. I'm obviously not the one for you. Because if you had decided not to put all your eggs into my basket at the end of 1 month, 1 whole month, and guys, that's a long time, then obviously you're not serious about me. Obviously, you're not like obsessed with me. And I wanted to marry a man who was completely head over heels obsessed with me. And the reason why I stuck to this rule, no matter what the guy said, is that I get attached to people very quickly. And the more time I spend with a person, the more attached I become to that person. So it is better for me to cut ties with a person completely after 1 month than to wait for a couple months down the line and become even more attached to that person, because then it will be harder to walk away. Another thing I had to do when I was dating was to do my background checks, because the amount of men out there with girlfriends and wives is crazy. And they will tell you to your face that they're single. Meanwhile, they have a wife in the village, they have a wife in another country, or a girlfriend or girlfriends. I remember there was one guy I met, we were talking for a while. And guys, I'm a journalist, so I do my research, right? So I went through this guy's social media, Facebook, Instagram, there was nothing there. He wasn't on TikTok. And then I went on YouTube. Now, he doesn't have a YouTube channel. However, he worked in the business world, and there had been an interview done of him posted to YouTube. And in that interview, he mentioned he had a wife. Guys, I was shook. But anyway, I brought this up to him, and he said that he and his wife were separated. But for me, separated still meant married. And I didn't want to be involved in any type of entanglement. Remember, like I said, I was being very, very intentional with my dating. So I had very strict rules. I also learned to stop chasing men. Like, if a man was not going to give me the same type of attention and affection that I was ready to give him, then he was not worth my time. After my experience of chasing a man for 3 years, I was like, never again, over my dead body. Like, I will never, ever, ever chase a man in my life. And then I also stopped needing to be in a relationship. I still wanted a relationship, but I stopped needing it. I realized that instead of focusing so much time on finding a man, I could pour that time onto me to make sure I took care of myself emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, because I was priority until I met my husband. Anyway, I hope this helps at least one of you out there. If you like my content, please do like, follow, and subscribe. Love you. See you soon.